So hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the important questions of the chapter Metals and Non-Metals of Class 10 CBSE Board. So these questions are basically the hints like what kind of questions or what type of questions are going to come in your board this year. So moving on to the first question. Reverse of the following chemical reaction is not possible. That is, zinc reacting with copper sulfate, a aqueous solution gives zinc sulfate aqueous solution and copper as solid. So we have to justify this statement with a reason. So basically what we have to do is we have to prove that copper reacting with zinc sulfate gives copper sulfate and zinc is not possible. So this is something which is the opposite of the following reaction. So the answer comes here. If a strip of zinc metal is put in copper sulfate solution, then the blue color of copper sulfate fades gradually due to the formation of colorless zinc sulfate solution and a reddish brown copper metal is deposited on the zinc strip. So what is happening in this following reaction? The blue solution of copper sulfate when reacting with zinc gives a colorless solution of zinc sulfate and reddish brown copper gets deposited on the zinc strip. So basically this is kind of a displacement reaction where this metal being more reactive displaces copper and takes a place and forms zinc sulfate and copper. So in this reaction, zinc metal being more reactive than copper displaces copper from the copper sulfate solution. If however a strip of metal is placed in a zinc sulfate solution, then no reaction occurs. This is because the copper metal is less reactive than zinc metal and hence cannot displace zinc from its salt. So what we can say is the answer is copper metal is less reactive than zinc metal and hence cannot displace zinc from its salt. So copper, which is less reactive than zinc, cannot displace zinc, cannot remove zinc from the sulfur solution and takes the place and form copper sulfate. So basically the reverse of this reaction cannot happen and hence no reaction is occurring. So we have proved. So moving on to the next question. So moving on to the question number 2. Name the metal which is the best conductor of heat, has a low melting point, does not react with oxygen even at a high temperature and the most ductile. So the best conductor of heat is silver. It can conduct a good amount of heat and it is the best conductor of heat as well. Next is the low melting point is gallium. So gallium, if we give a very low amount of heat, it can be melted. Next is the silver and gold do not react with oxygen even at a high temperature. So if we give enough energy or enough temperature to gold and oxygen and even silver and oxygen, both will not react. So that's why silver and gold do not react with oxygen even at a high temperature. And the last question is which is the most ductile? So it is again gold. So gold can be beaten into a long wire easily, like you can know like your jewelries and etc. are made of a gold easily. So gold can be beaten into good wire and it will be the most ductile metal. So that's why gold is known as the most ductile metal. So moving on to the next question. So next question is what is meant by amphoteric oxides? Choose the amphoteric oxides from the following: sodium oxide, zinc oxide, carbon dioxide, aluminum oxide and water. So we have to choose which one among the following is amphoteric oxide and what do we mean by amphoteric oxide. So amphoteric oxides are those which show acidic as well as basic character when they react with base as well as solid. So zinc oxide and aluminum oxide are the amphoteric oxide. So these two can react with both acid and both solid. That's why they are known as amphoteric oxides. So moving on to the next question. Which is our question number 4. So why should the metal sulfides and carbonates be converted into the metal oxides in the extraction process of the metals? So we know that there are basic methods of extraction of metals by calcination or roasting, like roasting by sulfides and calcination by carbonates. So why are they converted into oxides first and then the extraction of metal occurs? So this is easier to obtain metals from their oxides and carbonates or sulfurs. So the ore is first converted into the oxides. A carbonate ore is first converted into oxide ore by calcination, or sulfide ore is converted into oxides by roasting. So basically By calcination or roasting, the ores are first converted into their respective oxides of the metal and then the metal is extracted. Moving on to the next question. So moving on to question number 5. Compound X and aluminium are used to join railway tracks. So this kind of questions are very common, like you have to find the value of X and Y just like maths. So these are the very common questions which are going to come in your examination. So be prepared with this kind of question. You can get this kind of question in all kind of books like Exam Idea or whatever you follow. So these are the most important questions you have to prepare. Like this gives you 3 marks question, 5 marks question, and even in 1 marks MCQs also these are very much valid. So the questions are: identify the compound X, name the reaction, and write down its reaction. So the answer is the one which reacts with aluminium and are used to join the railway tracks are ferrous oxide. So Fe2O3. Ferrous oxide is the one which reacts with aluminium to join the railway tracks. Name the reaction. The reaction is called thermite reaction. So this reaction is known as thermite reaction, where ferrous oxide is reacting with aluminium to join the railway tracks. And the reaction which is the one is 2Al plus Fe2O3 gives 2Fe Al2O3 plus heat, which is evolved. So this is the one which is the complete reaction. So you have to give, this is contains 1 marks, 1 marks, 1 mark. So you can get 3 marks if you prepare this kind of question, and these are very easy to answer. Moving on to the next question. So moving on to the 6th question. When the metal X is treated with cold water, it gives a basic salt Y with the molecular formula XOH, which has a molecular mass of 40, and it liberates a gas Z which easily catches fire. So we have to identify the value of X, Y and Z and also write the reaction involved. So we have to identify which is X, which is Y and which is Z. So the answer comes here. X is Na because the molecular mass of NaOH is 40. So here you have to understand and remember the molecular mass of the molecules or compounds which are formed. So basically Na is 23, O is 16. So if you add 23 plus 16, it comes as 40, which is the molecular mass of NaOH. So we can identify through this reaction the value of X, Y and Z. So X is sodium, Y is sodium hydroxide, that is NaOH, and Z is hydrogen, which catches fire easily when reacts with water. Like Na plus H2O gives NaOH and hydrogen. Here oxygen is losing hydrogen, so it is oxidized. So we know what is oxidization. When hydrogen is loosed, so it is known as oxidization. So here oxygen is losing hydrogen, so it is oxidized. The Na has gained oxygen, so it is reduced. Therefore, it is a redox reaction and an H2 displacement reaction. Redox reaction are reaction in which one species of reduced and another is oxidized. So where reduction and oxidation is occurring simultaneously at the same time in the same reaction, we term it as redox reaction. Consequently, the oxidation state of the species involved must change, as well as the oxidation state of the species also need to be changed. So this was our 6th question. Moving on to the next question. So the 7th question is, give the formula of the stable binary compounds that would be formed by the combination of the following pairs of elements: magnesium reacting with nitrogen, lithium reacting with oxygen, aluminium reacting with chlorine, and potassium reacting with oxygen. The magnesium reacting with nitrogen gives magnesium nitride, lithium with oxygen gives lithium oxide, aluminium with chlorine gives aluminium chloride, and potassium with oxygen gives potassium oxide. Moving on to the next question. So, next question comes as, that is question number 8. What happens when zinc carbonate is heated without oxygen and a mixture of C2O like Cu2O like copper oxide and copper sulfide is heated? So when zinc carbonate is heated without oxygen, we get zinc oxide and carbon dioxide. So when zinc carbonate is heated without oxygen, that is a number question, is giving zinc oxide and carbon dioxide. And in the second question, a mixture of CO2O like copper oxide and copper sulfide is heated, so we get copper and sulfide separately. Next question. So in this question, we are going to understand what is calcination and what is roasting. Question number 9 tells, give the reaction involved during the extraction of zinc from its ore. So when zinc is extracted from its ore, we have to write the reaction in terms of calcination and roasting. So roasting, as I said, the sulfide ores, and calcination are the carbonate ores. So 2ZnS plus 3O2 gives 2ZnO and 2CO2. SO2. And zinc carbonate reacting gives zinc oxide and carbon dioxide. So in roasting, sulfur dioxide is evolved, and in calcination, CO2 is evolved. Moving on to the next question. So the 10th question of the day is, two ores A and B were taken. On heating, ore A gives CO2, not CO2, it is CO, carbon monoxide, whereas B gives SO2, that is sulfur dioxide. What steps will be taken to convert them into their metals? Answer is, a carbonate ore is calcinated to obtain the oxide of the metal. So carbonate ore will be calcinated to obtain the oxide of the metal. When a carbonate ore is heated, we get carbon dioxide. The following equation shows the calcination of zinc carbonate. We saw this reaction in the above question as well. So zinc carbonate reacting gives zinc oxide and carbon dioxide. Similarly, when sulfide ore is roasted, we get sulfur dioxide. Zinc sulfide is roasted to obtain zinc oxide. So the reaction zinc sulfide plus 3O2 gives 2ZnO, that is zinc oxide and sulfur dioxide. If any of the steps zinc oxide is reduced to obtain the pure zinc, so it is ZnO plus C gives Zn plus CO. Here we can extract the metal zinc from the reaction. So these were some kind of similar types of questions that are going to come in your board examination this year. So be prepared, do not miss any question, attempt all the question so as to get the part marks as well. And do like and click the bell icon to get more updates on the next videos. And till then, bye bye, have a good day. Thank you.